I am hard, but not a stone. I am cold, but not a wind. I am made of water, but you cannot drink me. The Book of Elemental Powers. Hello, I'm Sensei the Dark Master, and welcome back to the Lore of Ninjago. In today's installment, we shall be covering our first true elemental power, a very cool element, ice. We shall cover its history, its notable users, the abilities it grants a person, its weaknesses, and much more. The elemental power of ice is one of the four main elements of creation and originated when the first Spinjitzu master taught the ability to control ice to the first elemental master of ice. This unnamed ice elemental master passed it on to his child, and so did that child do the same to his child, and so on did this process continue for over 100 generations. This continued until the elemental master of ice prior to Zane. He fought valiantly in the First Anachondri War and against the nefarious Time Twins. However, he never had any children, either due to never finding the right person or just being uninterested. Feeling the chilling presence of death approaching, this elemental master of ice went to visit Dr. Julian, who had finished building Zane. He took interest in the Ninjoid, and so through an unknown means passed on his powers to Zane, and then some time later passed away. Zane would then become the elemental master of ice and a ninja of ice. Together, he and the other ninja would defend Ninjago against many evils, and he fought bravely. But one historical event is worth mentioning before we move forwards, something that shows the dark side of ice. During a battle against the Serpentine Witch Asphira, the ancient Serpentine sorceress hit Zane with a blast from the scroll of forbidden Spinjitzu, blasting the poor ninja who held the other scroll of forbidden Spinjitzu, spiraling back in time and to the most distant of all the realms, the Never Realm. The Never Realm was already a cold and distant realm. However, thanks to the scroll of forbidden Spinjitzu and the deception machinations of the formling outcast Vex, it became colder as Zane was corrupted into the evil Ice Emperor. He rose to power. He overthrew the previous king Grimfax. Under his evil rule, a decades-long winter fell over the entire realm, as the formlings were frozen solid, and summer never came. He ruled with strange dark powers, an elemental frost dragon, and an unstoppable army of ice zombies. Zane would only be defeated and turned back to normal thanks to his friends who never gave up on him. Now that the history is finished, let us discuss who has wielded this nice power. The first to wield ice was obviously the first Spinjitzu master. Then he passed it on to the first elemental master of ice, obviously. Then there was the previous elemental master of ice that predated the current one. And of course, most recently, we have Zane the Ninjoid and the current elemental master of ice. Others have used this power, though indirectly. Pixel could access the power when Zane gave her half his power source. With the elemental power of Amber, individuals could copy Zane's powers, such as Skylar. With the Staff of Elements, Zane's stolen powers were utilized by the nefarious Master Chen and temporarily by Kai, who became corrupt with its power. Wu could tap into ice using creation, and Lloyd Garmadon could use ice via the golden power. Ronin could use ice with the elemental forge of ice, though that is not considered canon. Nauticon also utilized ice with the Jin Blade when it contained Zane's soul. The chilling Blizzard Archers and Blizzard Swordmasters both could use ice because they were made of pure evil ice. There were many creatures that could also utilize the power of ice. Many of these were dragons. These dragons included Shard, the original ice dragon, who would later fuse into the four-headed Ultra Dragon, who could also utilize ice. A second ice dragon is known from the realm of Oni and dragons. Firstborn, the first dragon, could also wield the breath of ice. The titanium dragon was an elemental dragon that appeared when Zane unlocked his true potential after being captured by the Anachondrite cult. Boreal was a corrupted version summoned by the Ice Emperor and was technically a wyvern. There were several great giant creatures that were humanoid that could wield ice powers. This included the Ice Behemoth created by the Ice Emperor, which was able to reassemble itself after being separated into its base components, and the Elemental Golem used by Ronin via the Elemental Forges. Many tools and objects have also tapped into the elemental power of ice. These included the Golden Shurikens of Ice, one of the 4 golden weapons of creation. It could transform into a snowmobile if Zane utilized it. The Ice Elemental Blade could also wield the power, and helped return the elemental power back to Zane after he lost it temporarily. When Chrono Steel and Blue Crystal were combined into the Staff of Elements, it could steal elemental powers, as it did with ice. There are also the elemental ice shurikens used by Zane against the dreaded Sky Pirates. The Jin Blade could wield ice when it contained Zane's soul. With the elemental forge of ice, one could wield ice, such as Ronin did, or Dareth. With the Scroll of Forbidden Spinjitzu, one could enhance ice's powers, and that staff was eventually turned into the Ice Emperor's scepter. Vex's Crystal of Ice allowed him to spy through pillars of dark ice. And lastly, there was the Shurichopter, a helicopter with a pair of giant ice shurikens, flown by Zane. But what are the powers that ice gives a user? After all, we've seen who wields it, but what does it give? Firstly, via the power of pyrokinesis, the user can create, generate, and manipulate ice, such as to coat surfaces and to trap enemies solid in a block of ice. Create ice constructs like escape routes, shards, barriers, induce chills, and extinguish fire. The user can even freeze designated areas underwater and create ice without a beam. Underneath these are several sub-powers. With propulsive flight, the user can propel themselves with ice, though this is possibly only able to be done in low-gravity environments. With chirokinetic flight, one can move even faster and in regular gravity areas. With Ice Blast, a user can release ice over a specific targeted area, causing great damage or delivering great shockwaves of pure force. With Freezing Touch, the user can freeze anything or anyone via touching the target with their hands. With Freezing Punch, the user can channel the powers of ice to freeze opponents that the user punches. With ice sphere projection, the user can create balls of ice to freeze everything that will come in contact with it. With chirokinetic surfing, the user can create a path made of ice to surf on for transportation. With ice infusion, the user can infuse objects, like weapons, with ice, empowering and energizing them and allowing the user to manipulate their abilities with efficiency. With Elemental Shield, a user can create an elemental shield of ice. With Icy Flames, a user can create and manipulate a sparkling blue, whitish, ice-like flames. With Cold Breath generation, the user is capable of making cold air or wind to blow something. With Ice Prison, the user is able to generate a clear prison made of ice shaped like an igloo to trap enemies. When an elemental master of ice unlocks their true potential, they unlock the ice mimicry power, with which the user can temporarily transform their body into ice. This conveys several subpowers. With cold generation, the user can reduce the kinetic energy of atoms, meaning they effectively make things colder, ranging from slightly chilly levels to absolute zero. With ice shield construction, the user can create shields of ice that can protect against an adversary. With ice beam emission, the user can produce a powerful beam of ice or cold that freezes everything instantly. With ice tornado generation, the user can generate vortexes composed of ice. The vortex can be projected as a long-ranged attack or a tornado of ice for both offense and defensive purposes. With ice immunity, the user cannot be harmed in cold or icy areas. With ice explosion inducement, the user can create an explosion of ice energy to freeze everything in the area. With the scrolls of Forbidden Spinjitzu, one unlocks many new, yet evil abilities. It also strengthens many of the ones listed before, such as Cold Generation, Cold Beam Emission, and Elemental Creation, to the point of making an entire realm cold and hunted by ghoulish creatures. With Cyrotelekinesis, the user can use ice to control, move, or manipulate objects. With Corruption Inducement, the user can create ice that corrupts those it touches. Zane uses this to control the Blizzard Warriors. With Corrupted Ice Manipulation, the user can shape and create corrupted ice, and this ice can be controlled remotely. With mind manipulation, the user can manipulate other people's minds. It has two subpowers. With power negation, when ice is corrupted, it gains a Venge Stone like ability and can cancel out elemental powers and the shape shifting powers of formlings. The other subpower is clairvoyance, with which, using a crystal shard, one can spy on someone else far away and can even look through a person's eyes. For all these powers, ice does have some weaknesses. For one, it can be overwhelmed and melted with sufficient fire, and unlike the other four elements of creation, the user is unable to manipulate ice that they themselves didn't create. Also, with the Scroll of Forbidden Spinjitzu, one's goodness can be corrupted into evil very efficiently, especially for those who are already extremely good natured. Ice is associated with the colors white and light blue, and its symbol is the head of a wolf. This symbolizes Zane's loyalty to his friends, just as a wolf is loyal to its pack. Before we end this, let us take a brief look at the interpretation of ice in the Ninjago movie. In the movies, ice is wielded by Zane and Wu, and the abilities of the movie's ice are very similar to the show's, but greatly simplified, much like the movie itself, only having Cyrokinesis Cyrokinetic surfing, ice sphere projection, and ice beam emission. The most significant difference is that in the movie, Zay can freeze anything with both his hands and feet. I mean, it's a slight addition, but overall, this interpretation of ice is just greatly watered down and it's just terrible. It's kind of like the movie as a whole, actually. Well, what can we learn from ice? Well, we learn to stick together with friends, to warm up against the chills of evil, and to never give in to the desolation of fear. And that one should never give up on your friends. I am Sensei the Dark Master, and join me next time on The Lore of Ninjago. Have a good day.